right. You guys ready to get into this?
Uh-oh.
Keep it down out there, not so loud.
Yeah, I know. Keep it down back there. Try to keep it orderly.
You rowdy guys, I know we have to call security.
Yeah.
Don't make me get up. I'll fall down, probably.
All right. Well, we got 2019 WWE Hall of Famer. You may know him as the Butcher, as the Zodiac. I believe for a couple weeks you were the Mariner, the Booty Man. But we know him, we love him. Brutus the Barber Beefcake, everybody. Let's give it up for the legend, the icon, Brutus the Barber Beefcake. And I got to tell you an embarrassing story. In 1990, May of 1990, I remember it specifically. My mom willingly went to a pro wrestling match at the Cumberland County Civic Center in Portland, Maine, because you were wrestling the Genius on that card. And when she willingly went, it was the first one she ever went to, and she said, "Brutus is my favorite wrestler. He has the best butt on the roster." So my mom will never forgive me for saying that to your face. And that is I'm now shunned from my family.
It wasn't called the Beefcakes for nothing, man. Come on.
But how are you? Is everything good with you? How is everything?
I'm doing good.
Love it. Love to hear. You've been wrestling, started in the correct me if I'm wrong, late 70s, all the way 76, all the way through the golden age, the golden era, into the Monday Night Wars. So you worked with literally a who's who in the world of professional wrestling. You're among that. How did that all come about? How did you even get started?
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. I got the deep seat, so I'm ready to hear the story.
We got 3 hours. Well, to make it tell the fast version, I'm a Tampa boy. Grew up in South Tampa, and the high school there was Robinson High School, and my 5 children in my family, we all went to Robinson High School. So did a certain Terry Bollea.
Some of you guys
better
heard
known
of
as
that
Hulk
guy.
Hogan.
Right, yeah.
He was in the classes with my older sisters, actually.
Yeah.
And but you couldn't help but notice him. I actually went to watch one of his games, and he's playing baseball, playing Little League, and when he was 12. He was 200 pounds, at least 6 foot tall, 12 years old. Okay? I saw him hit the ball, nearly ripped the jacket off it. It hit the fence and bounced off. It hit the fence so hard that it bounced back. And he was so clumsy, so big, so clumsy, that the kid threw him out at first base because he didn't like running, first of all, and he didn't even want to run. I also saw him hit a ball that a major leaguer would have been proud to hit. It had to go at least 450 or more because it went over the trees that were outside the fence. That was 180, 200. So, I mean, it went out of sight. It was like, and it was like, I played ball when I grew up a couple more years with Wade Boggs. So he's a Hall of Famer. Yeah. He was a coach for our team in Tampa Bay. We played with the Yankees and the Sox.
Yeah.
Go
Golden
Sox.
Gloves.
Go Sox, yeah. Pretty good guy. Pretty good baseball player.
And we were friends. And after that, we've been friends since we were like 11, 12 years old. And had I not run into Hulk Hogan in those early days, I was a baseball player. And that was my deal, and I was good at it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And the Hulk convinced me to go on the road with him. And basically, we actually took like 14 months and trained every day, 6 days a week, twice a day for 14 months, not a drop of alcohol. We ate everything we could get our hands on and trained like savages. And at the end of that time, I went from 175 pounds to about 250.
Wow.
And he went from about 255 to 325.
Gosh.
And both of us were benching close to 500, squatting 500. I could sit and do one-arm dumbbell presses with hundreds.
That's him,
That's
basically.
basically like a me.
him.
That's a one-arm dumbbell.
Curl
press with me.
225 standing up.
Yeah.
We were savages. We were strong. Hulk had tried to break in the business before that. Didn't get much love from the local Graham family, Eddie Graham and Mike Graham. The Grahams had run the Florida business. According to the Briscoes, they loved him. They wanted him, but somehow they wouldn't give him a booking so he could even make $1 to live on. Uh-oh, they're already leaving? I better speed this up.
Bathroom run.
Big Graham fans. There were marks for
it was
the
Eddie
Graham
Graham's
family
family.
right there. Yeah.
And basically just made the decision, like, we got to get so big, so bad that they just can't not give us a chance.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. We made some phone calls right up to one of your neighbors in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Not far off.
Yeah.
Jim Barnett,
Yeah.
Jimsy they called him. And Jimsy, we flew up. Jimsy took one look at us and just almost melted into a puddle. He was like, he's like, I can't believe my eyes. This is this is it. This is the deal. This is the future. This is going to be bigger than anything that's coming. This is going to be great. And then, that's where we get our first shot to go to a couple places. We went to Memphis for Jerry Jarrett. Also, I worked in Nashville for.
Oh yeah.
What was the guy's name? Oh Christ.
It was. Oh gosh, I can't think of his name now either.
I'll think of it in a minute.
Yeah.
But we started out small.
Yeah.
And we started out as Terry and Eddie Boulder, the Boulder brothers.
Appropriate.
Yeah.
Then they started calling him the Hulk. Terry the Hulk Boulder.
Yeah.
And then we worked for a while together, and then we wound up splitting up. And it was the best thing because I wasn't going to really learn anything being his younger brother, just thing. I needed to be on my own. And so then that was brutal. I spent 7 years traveling every territory in the country, except for Texas, for the Von Erichs, where they all killed themselves. So I think that was a good stay away from that. That was
Yeah.
But they get movie deals later.
Yeah, they did. It eventually came around.
Yeah.
But then Hulk traveled around. He worked for Minneapolis. Did real well in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Was their champion. And Vern Gagne was the main man there. He owned the company and stuff. And he kind of made up his own mind. He was going to kind of like keep Hulk Hogan for himself.
Yeah.
He had Nick Bockwinkel as champion. And he was going to give the belt to Hulk and said, "Now I'm going to this is what I'm going to pay you."
Yeah.
And Hulk was like, "Yeah, I don't think so."
No.
Vince McMahon Sr. Had passed, and now Junior had the business, and cable television was beginning to sweep the country. You already had TBS, which was going nationwide, and now you had WR and channels going all over the country. And then Vince saw his opportunity to take this, to just turn the whole country into his territory.
Yeah.
The whole country had been a just group of territorial places from Tennessee and Florida and Georgia and Louisiana and Texas, Minnesota, New York, and then California, Oregon had their little territory. All small, all territories. Guys all traveled amongst them, but
Yeah.
it wasn't one big territory.
A lot of folks know you as the beloved barber, but you got your career started. You were a bad guy. You were the heel those first few years as WWF Tag Champion at the time. You were part of that first WrestleMania, obviously that big WrestleMania 2 match with the Bulldogs and you and Greg Valentine. What was the emotion from you? I know we've seen so many documentaries and stories about those first couple of WrestleManias, but what was that emotion from you and the folks that you were around in the locker room at that time about this idea that we know now as just big as the Super Bowl, WrestleMania?
Right. Yeah.
everybody was excited. The guys back then, I mean, everybody, Vince built everybody into a superstar. It was not one or two guys that were like main eventers, and everybody was a potential main eventer at any time. You could take anybody, plug them into a match in the main event, and it didn't matter. Because everybody was super professional, super good at what we did. You know, the people believed in wrestling back then. You couldn't watch a match. You can see these punches going, flying by somebody, and they go jumping off their feet and fall down or that never happened, man. These were big guys. I wrestled. The guys I was 265, 6'4", 265, and I was small compared to the smaller guys were 300, 350, 400, 450. You had Andre the Giant at 600 pounds. Big John Studd, 7 foot tall, 400 pounds. One-man gang. Yeah. King Kong Bundy. I mean, just on and on. These guys are monsters.
Yeah. You were a high flyer.
We're wrestlers. When you looked at them and you heard the name wrestler, you're like, yeah, that's a freaking wrestler. Jesus Christ. That's two wrestlers. Crying out loud. And it was just a tremendous time to be in our business because everybody respected everybody. Everybody watched each other's back. Everybody took care of each other on the road. If something happened, somebody needed help, somebody was always there to help.
Yeah.
And that's the way it was. And unfortunately, the business has now become so cutthroat. Now you can't turn your back on people and they stab you in the back in a second.
Yeah.
To try to get your spot, to take your spot. If you turn your back for a minute, you're out. Somebody else is going to be in there. And it's just, to me, it was what we had was so special. And it'll never come again. You know, the business changes. You know, you can't stop it. That's inevitable. It doesn't always have to change for the better, but it changes.
Right.
And that part of the business, the psychology of our business where you went in the ring, you had a good guy and a bad guy, and you told a story. Story was, good guy's going to try to beat up the bad guy and win the match, and that's, you know, as simple as that.
Yeah.
Bad guy's going to cheat. If he gets caught, I don't know. If he doesn't get caught, maybe he wins.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it was a real simple story. It was easy for people to keep up with. The guys were just so hardcore, rugged, strong. You know, everything looked fantastic. Everything, you know, hits were hits.
Yeah.
People say, "Oh, it's fake. It's fake." Not a goddamn thing fake about it. Right. Drop you on your back a couple times. I mean, I took suplexes on concrete floors outside the ring, and it's not because it was easy. It was just because that's what I had to do when I was asked to do at one time. Yeah. And lucky, you know, I'm just lucky that we were in such shape and so, you know, so strong. So just, and wrestlers are fucking crazy anyway. You know, they when their arms hanging like this. Are you hurt there? Oh no problem.
Because there's your paycheck on the line, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned, you know, the good guys and the bad guys. Let's talk about a moment in your career when you had to go from good guy, or bad guy, I should say, to good guy, and with that controversial moment with the outlaw Ron Bass.
Oh my gosh!
On
Yeah,
TV.
yeah.
What was your emotion when they come to you and go, "Hey, we're going to turn you babyface. We're going to make you the good guy now"?
Well, they never said that. There was no moment where they said that. You know, when you break in the wrestling business, you pretty much you got to be a babyface because you don't know what you're doing. So someone has to lead you in the ring.
Yeah.
That was the heel's job. That was the bad guy's job.
Yeah.
And you have to perfect that knowledge and learn that first. So I mean, well, not first, but you got to get in the ring. I was lucky. I didn't go to a school or any like that. Yeah. Guys took me in the ring and showed me how to take a slam, and I hit the ropes, And I learned how to do an arm drag and a fireman's carry and do some wrestling moves. And then I started wrestling. I had my first match. I didn't know. I was scared having to go out in front of a real crowd. But that's the only way you really learned this psychology. So I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
That's the wife.
There it is. Oh, yeah, you got to take that one, too. If you say no to the wife, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm doing a panel. I'll call you back. She's always checking out. I am a bit of a wild card.
And when you became the barber, and of course the barber shop was part of that. That was, I mean, we grew up, we knew something big was on Superstars or Challenge when the barbershop segment was going to come up. And honestly, two of the most iconic moments, I believe, in WWF, WWE history happened on the barbershop. Of course, the first one, we all know that Marty Jannetty, like a coward, jumped through that window.
Right, tried to escape from Shawn Michaels.
Through the window from Shawn Michaels.
Broke up the rockers.
And the other, of course, one that sticks out for me, I know a lot of folks out there around WrestleMania 8 when Sid Justice destroyed the set of the barber shop, and he ended up getting that Barbasol shaving cream bath right there. Yeah. Being part of one of the most historic interview segments, and again, two of the biggest storylines.
The best one of them all. Maybe Marty and them got the most attention, but the barbershop I did with Andre the Giant was epic because he's never before or since did anything remotely that good with anybody. And only because for some God known reason, I knew him from back to 79 when they wrestled in Shea Stadium in New York. And Andre wrestled and Hulk was there and all the New York guys. And I met Andre the first time and he liked me. And so I had no idea. We didn't have a script. We didn't go out there. I knew what was going on. I knew what I had to do. I had no idea how he was going to be once we got out there. And let me tell you, I've seen enough interviews, and Andre, he hated doing interviews. Hated it. Just didn't want anything to do with it. And he came out there and cut the best interview he's ever done.
Andre
and and I had no idea. We're out there winging it. We're just talking about what we're doing, what's going on, the match, the people involved. It doesn't take a brain surgery. It's not brain surgery. And it was amazing. I walked out of there with goosebumps, going, how in the hell did I pull that off? And was just grateful. But hey, I got to tell you, you're missing one part. Me and Greg, the dream team.
The dream team, baby.
Let me tell you something. I've seen all the other tag team matches and all the other tag teams. There ain't nobody that had what we had in that ring. We beat the out of everybody. And basically, at that time, there was nobody that could challenge us. If they wanted to challenge us in the ring, if they wanted to really fight, they weren't going to win. So
one of the first cool heel tag teams.
For real.
I got to tell you, that was the most fun I ever had because I just walked around like a king, like a god. We just did whatever we want, said whatever we want, wherever we want. And every restaurant, every diner, anywhere we went, wherever it was, when we came in, the people were excited. They wanted to take pictures. We didn't pay for a meal for 2 years, ever, because the people were so excited. And it was a time when the business was changing. The good guys and the bad guys thing was now beginning to go a little bit gray. Now it became a thing for people to cheer for the bad guys. And we had more fights break out when we were wrestling in arenas all over the country. Almost every night, fights would break out in the crowd because people would start cheering for me and Greg. And we'd see people flying through the air and I said, Greg, we got to get out. Get out of the ring. Security come, grab him, take care of him, boom. Okay, let's go back, get back in the ring, start the match up again, keep going. And you know, MTV, VH1, things started happening. We were freaking rock stars, man.
And you guys looked MTV.
Right, yeah, like you guys were
You
like
had the MTV
looked the part.
And being a heel, you don't have to be. You're not kissing babies out there. You know, you're kicking ass and taking names.
Yeah.
And that was a time I'll never forget, and it was one of the best and greatest, most fun times I ever had. The whole changing babyface thing. What you don't know is when they started the Brutus Beefcake character, that was kind of the idea of between Vince McMahon's wife, who's going to work for Donald Trump, by the way.
Yeah.
Again. And Pat Patterson. Do you know that name?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So Brutus Beefcake, boom. His idea, Pat Patterson's idea of Brutus Beefcake was going to be a guy from California who was a flaming,
Insert the word. Yeah.
Horrible Adrian Adonis.
There you go. There you go.
Yes. Pre-gold
Adrian's whole
dust.
thing was
Yeah.
a Pat Patterson thing.
Yeah.
They wanted me just to be a total flaming bada boomer out there, and I'm not capable of doing that. I could pull off a lot of but it's not in my heart. It's not in my, and I couldn't do it. So, they didn't say exactly what I have to do or what I'm supposed to do. Nothing was planned. They didn't say to me. I went back to Florida and met with a guy and made clothes for the top, some of the top bands and artists in the world. Jimi Hendrix, Cher, just crazy people. And the guy was a genius. And I took me into his studio and I explained to him what was going on and what I thought I needed to do, and asked him, how can we make this happen? And he came out with these clothes and all the rock and roll clothes, spandex, snake skins, and zebra stripes, and so made a bow tie with rhinestones and armbands with metal on them, and came up with all this stuff that was unbelievable. Most wrestlers look like dull, like, oh, okay, that looks like somebody slept in it for a week in the sewer. You're wearing it in the ring? Come on, buy some new
Right.
I came out, Vince saw it, they went, that's it.
That's it, pal.
This is going to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so, boom, now Pat Patterson's standing there, with his arms crossed, and he didn't get his gay boy. But so he waited. And now after WrestleMania 3, I helped Piper cut Adrian's hair, blah, blah, blah. He didn't say He didn't tell me anything. Never told me I'm switching to babyface. Anything's happening. I showed up at the TV a couple days after. They hand me this white coat and a comb and a little pair of scissors and go, okay, now you're the barber. And I looked at him, I go, what? Now you're the barber. I said, the is a barber? There's no such thing. That's not something you can do. It's something that happens. You used to have a haircut match once, maybe a year. Yeah. And it was mostly done all in the territories in the old days. Had to have a big match to blow off a big deal. Some guys have been wrestling each other for 6 months and fighting. Finally, they had this big thing. All right, we're having a haircut match. The loser gets his head shaved. So the guy who's going to lose has got his U-Haul and all his shit parked in the parking lot out there, and the wife and the kids, and boom, and he gets his head shaved, and he hops in his U-Haul, and he goes to another territory. And that's the way that worked.
Yeah.
So there was basically, they were setting me up to fail. Brutus Beefcake had spent 3 years becoming the hottest heel in the country. I wrestled Hogan everywhere. Every night we were sold out. Didn't matter if it was 10,000 seats or if it was 30,000 seats. Every single night. Why on God's earth would you change that?
Yeah.
Why? Because Pat Patterson wanted his revenge. They're setting me up to fail.
Wow. Well,
We'll open it up to some Q&A questions here in a second from the crowd. I got one more question I've been dying to know. You know, you've worked with a ton of people across the decades. When you show up and you've got they got the booking sheet and they say you're working with so and so tonight, you're working with so and so tonight, or you're doing like a house show tour, and you know for the next few nights you're working with so and so. Who are some of the names that you were like really looking forward to working with, and who are the people that when they told you you're going to be doing like a string of house shows with this guy, and you're like, oh come on.
There wasn't any of that.
Good.
The guys
good.
The guys then were all top professionals. There wasn't a problem working with anybody. I enjoyed wrestling everybody, you know. Some more than others,
right.
But I mean, even, you know, back in the early 80s, I wasn't happy about having to wrestle Bret Hart a couple times.
Yeah.
Because all he wanted to do was go out there and amateur wrestle.
yeah.
You know, because his father and the dungeon, you know, in Calgary had drilled all that into their heads. All that don't make you a dime in the ring. What makes you money is entertaining the crowd, connecting with the crowd, being able to look out to the people, and they're looking at you, and there's a connection there, and they're cheering for you, and they feel like they're part of the match. That's what people come to the arena for. That's why they sit there. That's what they want to do. And that's what you got to learn. It took Brett a while. He finally got it. But it took him a while. It's like, you know, Kurt Hennig, Rick Rude, Rick Martel. I mean, the list is endless. There's so many guys that are super talented. They're just a night off to go into the ring with and stuff. And so those days, I wish they'd come back. Unfortunately, they're not coming back.
No, I don't think so. We could open it up if anybody has any
Here's your
questions.
chance.
Yeah, here's your chance. Yes.
Guys, how did the barbershop segment come to be? Did they just come to you and say you're doing this?
Well, after my accident in 1990, I was told I would never wrestle again. The doctors told me they didn't want me to even drive a car. They felt with my extensive head injuries that the danger of hitting the steering wheel or something happened in an accident would probably mean instant death for me. So I had a big decision to make. I don't know anything else. I started wrestling right out of high school, 19 years old. That's all I ever did. I wrestled for 44 years. We did a couple. He mentioned one guy they called the Mayor. We did a couple tryout matches in some smaller venues and television, where I put some disguises on and wrestled. I was in great shape. I came back. I was even bigger than I was before. I came back. I was like 245, 250. I came back at 265, stronger than a monster. A monster, but I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel like that it was worth risking my life yet. Yeah. I wanted a little more time because it had only been a year and a half between July of 90 and like mid 91 into 92. That's when we started the barbershop. So, but they came to me and said, would you be interested in doing this? And I was always good on the mic. There's no question about that. And I said, absolutely, this would be great. And they came to me and they had the barber shop, the whole setup, the thing. We did vignettes. I don't know if you got to see some of the vignettes we did with it. You must have seen them over the years. The guy, I put a leaf blower in the guy's face.
Yep.
It's just funny. And the barbershop, the first time they came out, they handed me a script, and I took it, kind of read through it a little bit, and I said, look, if this is going to work, It's got to be Brutus Beefcake's words. It can't be some jack off in the back, writing a script telling me what to say. Ain't gonna work. So I just need to know right now, what do you want? Do you want Brutus Beefcake out there, the wild man with a pair of clippers running around chasing everybody, or do you want some moron? And they said, "No, do your thing." So. And that's what happened. I got out there, just had fun with it. The Road Warriors, just had everybody and stuff. Yeah. And then, with the rockers and stuff. And just a quick tidbit on the rockers thing. Marty, I thought Marty was actually really the better part of that team. Yeah. I liked the guys. Greg and I had to work with them a lot. They were young. Up and coming, we just slapped them around. But we tried to teach them how to be main eventers, to work towards a main event. You just don't walk in and become a main eventer by accident. You got to learn a lot in the ring, and it takes time. And so, Marty was good and very talented. Sean made a deal with Vince, and because Sean was a much better kiss ass, let me put it that way. He just could suck it. And Marty didn't even have a clue. And he went into that barbershop. Marty did all the flying through the windows, was all cut up. Even the sugar glass, people have no idea how dangerous it is. It cuts the shit out of you. And Sean, everything, walked out of there. Okay, yeah. Marty walked out of there like, okay, now what? And they were like, sorry to tell you, Marty, but there is no more rockers, and we don't really have any plans for you. And they didn't even have the balls to tell him beforehand or anything. They just double-crossed him on TV, made him look horrible, and then walked away and didn't give a about Marty's life spiraled at that point.
Yeah.
I talk to Marty all the time. My wife, we try to help him. We try to get him bookings. We try to keep him out of the hospital. He's his own worst enemy.
Yeah.
And because he's got a good heart. He's a good guy, and he's a victim of what can happen in our business.
And he was a big amateur wrestler too, wasn't he? Big amateur wrestler.
When people have control of your life, and you got no say over it, and and it's just it's mind blowing to me. Yeah. The whole when I really got to hear the real Vince. Sean stuff that went on before that, and then after that, when I actually heard it with my own ears, I was blown away. I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, that's a cold son of a. Marty worked his ass off with that kid, with Sean for years in the WWE, WWF then, and to treat him that way is just beyond me.
Wow.
And I think karma is I think karma has got Vince McMahon by the ass.
Oh, it's got him now. That's for sure.
That's for sure. One thing to think about.
Yeah.
Who else has a question for Brutus the Barber Beefcake?
It's your chance to ask a
legend.
legend.
What was your most memorable match?
Most memorable match.
Oh, God, there's so many. Believe it or not, I've had 10,000 matches. That may sound like ridiculous a lot, but it's documented between 1993 and 2000 and 93 and 2000. No, 83 and 93.
Yeah.
Confuse myself. 83 and 93, 10 years. I did 5,000 matches. Okay.
Man.
We wrestled. You have to understand. And we were wrestling every day. We had no days off, only a couple days off the whole year. But every 3 weeks, we wrestled television shows. 4 television shows on Monday, 4 television shows on Tuesday, then wrestled the rest of the week. Sometimes twice on Saturday, twice on Sunday. So if you add that, that's 15 times in 1 week. Jeez. And that happened once a month. And then you multiply that by every day, you know, and for me, if you're a feature, and I was, sometimes you wrestled an extra match. You wrestled the last match of the night on Monday and the last match of the night. So now you're wrestling like 17 times in a week. And I mean, if you weren't just a total machine, you would just fall by the wayside. You know, the guys were just incredibly strong.
Yeah.
You know, we took pills and did some blow. So
I think that's the thing too. When you talk about like superstars and challenge and primetime wrestling,
Those
were
marathon tapings.
Those were
man.
grindingly long tapings, and they talk about a 3-hour Monday Night Raw. And it's
Right.
like, try one of those.
I did more matches and time on NBC Saturday Night Main Event than any other wrestler in the WWF.
Wow.
I'm also the only wrestler in the WWE now, currently, who's never been pinned in a WrestleMania.
There you go.
Look at that. There's some
And
trivia that
You hung
you
the
can-
first loss on Mr. Perfect as well.
That's
For
right.
Bang
Yeah,
there too.
there you
So-
go.
That was a great match. that was a super fun match there.
I think for the record, my mom's favorite match of all time in wrestling was that match at Cumberland County Civic Center that we finally got her to go to because of you. Just to answer that question on behalf of my mom. Yeah, go ahead.
So when you were coming up and you were still really green, who taught you the most that helped you with your career?
Oh, good question.
Not one person. I mean, the Samoans, the actual Samoans, Appa and Sika, were instrumental in helping me a lot. They just moral support and helped me with the training and stuff. There's so many of the older guys that I was lucky enough to be mentored by. It's hard to even remember. Guys like you wouldn't know from the South, because I came from the South. There's Mr. Wrestling, Mr. Wrestling too, mask guy, incredible technical wrestler, but incredible wrestler. Ivan Koloff,
Yeah.
super guy, nice guy, and helped me when I was getting the beat out of me every night in Louisiana and stuff. You know, DiBiase was there, Jake was there, got different guys. I was a young kid. Nobody gave me the time of day. You know, I was just fighting for my life, basically. And, you know, I was lucky enough to survive it and get the hell out of there. and you know, but I learned a lot. It taught me you have to learn to take care of yourself. And how to take care of yourself in the ring, and you know, sometimes they make you think, well, you know, you're the young guy, and you've got to do what you know the guys tell you to do. You know, you're a green guy, and these are the veterans, and the veterans tell you, and well, they want you to do this. You do it, and you know, they brainwash you with that, and that worked on me for a little while, and then after a couple of incidents, I was like, okay, this. Done. I'm done with that. Yeah. And then I took a little extra time to make sure it got a little bigger and a little stronger, and then nobody ever took advantage of me in the ring or anywhere else ever again.
You know, talk about people. You know, the wrestlers who play the best ribs and jokes in the locker room. Perfect was one of those guys. Kurt Hennig. Who's some of the best jokesters that you remember working with that would leave you in stitches?
Well, Fuji was a big ribber. Bulldogs loved to rib. They used to go in and take my scissors out of my bag and cut guys' legs of their pants off. It'd be 30 below zero, Baltimore, and after the match, the referee would take a shower, come back to his locker, and his pants only had one leg. So he had to leave the building. Yeah. With no pants. Or the Bulldogs, they loved working in some of the smaller towns. Once in a while we worked in real small towns like high school or something where they have lockers and shit. They'd go in the coach's office. They'd find the combination code or whatever. They have a code for all the lockers in case there's a locker with a lock on it they want to get into. They have a master combination or something that guys would come back and there'd be 20 locks on their back.
Oh, man.
You know,
Man.
they loved super glue. They'd come, he'd super glue the zipper on their pants. Super glue the zippers on their bags. Super glue, all kind of super glued. They were bad.
Jeez.
The Bulldogs really were bad.
Gosh. Did you have I saw you had your hand. Yeah, did you have a question?
How often did you have experiences interacting with people who couldn't distinguish reality from fiction and thought you were the character?
Like how often did you run into people that couldn't differentiate you from the Brutus Beefcake character, that reality versus character kind of interaction?
And not just today.
No, yeah. I'm gonna ask you for a haircut after this because I got a part over here that I got to get straightened
So am
out.
I.
But
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that question. Actually, I don't know. That Brutus Beefcake character.
Anybody ever try to like fight you or get angry at you?
Oh yeah, I had a guy in Atlanta. It was a young guy. We were wrestling in it's a small building where the old Atlanta territory wrestled, center stage.
oh yeah.
Legendary.
Yeah.
And Duggan was there with me. We were there doing some kind of the something or other something church. Oh, what the was his name? One of the top porn stars used to affiliate himself with this Jeremy.
Ron Jeremy. Yep.
Ron Jeremy was there, and Jim Neidhart was there. So a bunch of guys. We were all there. So they put me with some kid I've never seen before in my life, never heard of, whatever. Go in the ring. I talked to him a little bit before. I just told him, just don't do anything. Just listen what I tell you. First thing we did, we got in the ring, and he started like shooting on me. In other words, he started trying to like go for my legs, try to take me down.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a big amateur wrestling. I learned a little, enough to get by with, but I was ready for that kind of. And this kid didn't know what hit him. I pancaked him down in the ring. I took him down. I got up and then dropped the knee right in the back of his head.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And almost knocked him out right there. And then I just picked him up and I threw him into the corner and I kicked him and kicked him and kicked him and I grabbed him and I threw him into the other corner and I kicked him. Next thing you know, he was trying to get out of the ring. I wouldn't let him out of the ring. I dragged him back into the ring and I beat him and beat him and beat him. I mean, I didn't knock his teeth out or take his eye out or anything like that, but I physically beat that out of him.
Marinated him quite.
Yeah,
Finally.
make him pay for it. Yeah.
I wanted him to know the lesson, so he would never try that again with somebody. And when I finally let him up, he dove through the rope into the chairs, came up and ran out the door into the street and down the street. Didn't bother to go back for his clothes or anything. And I said, I think he got the message.
Winner by count out.
Yeah, right there. Right there.
Don't with Mother Nature.
Are there any other questions before we wrap? Yeah,
One more. We got time for one more.
Yeah, we got one more out here.
What is your favorite moment, or do you have a favorite moment being the disciple? What is your favorite moment, if you have one, being the disciple of NWO?
Good time.
Pop it
Yeah,
into the
that's- yeah,
WCW
favorite
now.
moment is the
Yeah.
disciple. Man, a few words, the disciple.
Well, we were doing the show somewhere, and I got to give Sting my move.
Wow.
What's his name? Diamond Dallas Page copied it, called it the Diamond Cutter. I called it the Apocalypse.
Yeah.
So he copied my move, wound up, and then they wouldn't let me wrestle. So what's the point in having a move if you can't wrestle and use it? So, yeah, he wound up going, there's a new move. We got the diamond cutters, exactly the same. It was similar to Stone Cutter, whatever.
Yeah, Stone Cold Stunner, yeah.
Stunner.
Yep,
Stone Cold
yep,
Steve
Stunner.
Stunner. But it was different. It was different than that. And, yeah, getting to put Sting in the apocalypse and leave him laying out
moment.
cold or whatever, in the ring was pretty satisfying.
That's pretty cool right there.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Brutus Beefcake, for being
Brutus the
so
Barber
awesome.
Beefcake, everybody.
Appreciate you. Yeah, give him a round of applause, please.